Welcome to English Spark. I am truly glad you are here today because this is not going to be another generic lesson filled with obvious advice like, study hard or memorize more words. Instead, this is a structured, realistic, and practical guide that will reshape the way you approach English learning. In this series, we are building your English from the inside out. Not only your vocabulary, not only your grammar, but your thinking system, your habits, and your daily interaction with the language. If you are serious about improving, then focus carefully, because this first part is about constructing the mental and structural base that determines how fast and how effectively you will progress. The first shift you must make is understanding that English is not a school subject, it is a system of patterns. Most learners fail because they treat English like a collection of random rules. In reality, English is predictable. It follows patterns in sentence formation, verb usage, and word combinations. Instead of memorizing isolated grammar rules, train yourself to notice patterns in real sentences. When you read or listen, ask yourself, what is the structure here? Why is this verb used in this form? Why does this adjective come before the noun? Pattern recognition reduces confusion because your brain prefers systems over scattered information. Next, you need to build what I call functional vocabulary, not decorative vocabulary. Many students memorize advanced words they rarely use while struggling to form simple daily sentences. Functional vocabulary means words you can use immediately in your life. Start with verbs that describe daily actions: manage, improve, avoid, prepare, increase, reduce, maintain, replace, create, compare. These verbs are powerful because they allow you to express opinions, describe processes, and explain ideas. Combine them with high-frequency nouns like habit, result, progress, mistake, strategy, opportunity, decision. With just these categories, you can already construct meaningful conversations instead of memorizing rare or academic words that do not serve you yet. Another foundational element is mastering sentence expansion. Many learners remain stuck because they only produce short sentences like, I like English, or, I watch movies. You must learn how to expand an idea. Start with a base sentence, I study English. Then expand it with time, I study English every evening. Add reason, I study English every evening because I want to improve my communication skills. Add method, I study English every evening by watching interviews and writing short summaries. This expansion technique trains your brain to think in layers. Instead of searching for complex vocabulary, you build complexity by adding information. You must also train your ear strategically. Passive listening without intention is entertainment, not training. Choose audio slightly above your current level. Listen once without subtitles to test comprehension. Listen again with subtitles to clarify meaning. Then repeat selected sentences aloud, focusing on rhythm and stress. English pronunciation is deeply connected to stress patterns. Native speakers do not pronounce every word with equal strength. They stress key words and reduce others. If you ignore this, your listening and speaking will always feel disconnected from real conversations. Pay attention to how sentences flow, not just to individual words. Now let us address grammar from a functional perspective. Instead of studying grammar chapter by chapter, attach grammar to usage. For example, when learning the present perfect, do not memorize definitions like, an action that happened at an unspecified time. Instead, use it in personal contexts. I have improved my vocabulary this month. I have watched 3 English interviews today. When grammar becomes a reporting tool for your life, it sticks. Language that connects to personal experience is retained longer because it carries emotional relevance. Another powerful base-building technique is controlled output. Random speaking without correction can fossilize mistakes. Completely avoiding speaking delays fluency. The balance is controlled output. Write short paragraphs daily, then review them carefully. Look for verb tense consistency. Check subject-verb agreement. Replace weak verbs like do and make with more precise verbs when possible. This conscious correction phase strengthens accuracy while maintaining progress. Accuracy and fluency should grow together, not separately. You also need input diversity. Many learners rely only on one source, such as movies. Movies are useful, but they contain slang, fast speech, and emotional expressions that may overwhelm beginners. Balance your input between interviews, educational videos, podcasts, and clear explanatory content. Interviews are excellent because they combine natural speech with structured answers. Podcasts train listening endurance. Educational videos clarify concepts. This mixture prevents your brain from adapting to only one speaking style. Measurement is critical. Improvement feels invisible without metrics. Every 2 weeks, record yourself speaking for 3 minutes about a specific topic. Do not prepare too much. Speak naturally. After recording, listen critically. Are you pausing too often? Are you repeating the same vocabulary? Are you avoiding complex sentences? This self-evaluation transforms you from a passive learner into an active analyst of your own performance. Progress accelerates when awareness increases. Finally, understand that cognitive overload destroys consistency. If you try to learn 20 new words daily, multiple grammar rules, and watch complex content in one session, your brain will resist the next day. Sustainable progress depends on cognitive balance. Challenge yourself, but do not exhaust yourself. A steady 1% improvement every day compounds dramatically over months. English mastery is not built through extreme effort in short bursts, it is built through structured repetition and intelligent exposure. This is the true foundation. Not motivation speeches, not unrealistic promises, but systems, pattern awareness, structured expansion, strategic listening, controlled output, and measurable practice. When this base becomes stable, everything else, fluency, confidence, speed, will grow naturally from it. Vocabulary is not a collection of meanings, it is a network of relationships. When learners say they forget words, the real issue is not memory weakness but weak connections. If a word is stored alone, it disappears quickly. If it is connected to situations, emotions, examples, and related expressions, it becomes stable. The goal is not to recognize a word when you see it, but to retrieve it when you need it. Consider how the brain stores language. It does not keep words in alphabetical order, it stores them by association. When you learn the word challenge, connect it immediately to verbs and adjectives that naturally surround it: face a challenge, overcome a challenge, major challenge, personal challenge, long-term challenge. Then create a sentence that relates to your life: one of my biggest challenges is staying consistent with practice. That personal connection strengthens retention because your brain prioritizes relevance. Another powerful shift is moving from passive recognition to active recall. Seeing a word many times creates familiarity, but familiarity is not mastery. To transform a word into active vocabulary, close the book and test yourself. Look at your native language and produce the English word. Look at the definition and retrieve the term. Even stronger, explain the word in English using simple language. If you can describe a word without translating it, you are building real fluency. Vocabulary growth becomes faster when you organize words by function rather than theme. Instead of studying food vocabulary or travel vocabulary, group words by communicative purpose. For expressing opinions, assume, suggest, argue, claim, believe, doubt. For describing change, increase, decline, expand, shift, transform, maintain. For showing contrast, however, whereas, despite, although, on the other hand. This functional grouping immediately upgrades your speaking and writing because you gain tools to build ideas, not just label objects. Context exposure must be slightly challenging. If every text you read feels easy, growth slows down. If every text feels impossible, motivation collapses. The ideal material contains mostly familiar words with a small percentage of new ones. When encountering a new word, resist the urge to translate instantly. Try to infer meaning from context. This trains cognitive flexibility and reduces dependency on your native language. After guessing, confirm the meaning, then create your own sentence. That final production stage locks the word into memory. Repetition should be intelligent, not mechanical. Rereading a list 10 times creates an illusion of learning. Spaced repetition works better. Review new words after 1 day, then after 3 days, then after 1 week. Each review session should include active recall, not just rereading. Write sentences without looking at notes. Speak short paragraphs using the new vocabulary. Difficulty during recall is a positive sign, it means your brain is strengthening retrieval pathways. Pronunciation cannot be separated from vocabulary. If you learn a word incorrectly, you may fail to recognize it in listening. Always check stress patterns. English is stress-timed, which means some syllables are stronger than others. Take the word development. The stress falls on the second syllable, development. Practicing stress aloud improves both clarity and listening comprehension because you begin to anticipate natural rhythm. Precision also matters. Many learners rely on general verbs like do, make, get, or have. Expanding vocabulary means replacing vague language with precise alternatives. Instead of make better, use enhance. Instead of get bigger, use expand. Instead of make smaller, use reduce. Precision creates confidence because your ideas sound deliberate rather than approximate. Reading is one of the fastest vocabulary accelerators when done actively. Choose short articles, underline useful expressions, not just single words. Expressions like play a crucial role, raise awareness, meet expectations, gain experience, are more valuable than isolated nouns. These chunks allow you to speak more naturally because you are borrowing ready-made structures used by fluent speakers. Writing transforms vocabulary from knowledge into skill. After learning new expressions, write a short paragraph integrating at least 5 of them. The paragraph does not need to be long, it needs to be controlled. During revision, check whether the word fits naturally in context. If it feels forced, rewrite the sentence. This refinement stage strengthens accuracy and stylistic awareness. Listening reinforces vocabulary from another angle. When you hear a word you recently studied, your brain experiences recognition satisfaction. That emotional reward strengthens memory. Choose interviews or educational talks and focus on identifying known expressions. This active listening transforms random audio into targeted reinforcement. Consistency remains the invisible multiplier. Learning 7 deeply understood words daily equals nearly 200 meaningful words per month. Over 6 months, that becomes more than 1,000 words integrated with context, pronunciation, and usage. Sustainable progress often looks small in a single day but becomes extraordinary over time. A rich vocabulary is not about sounding impressive, it is about reducing hesitation. When the right word appears instantly in your mind, your confidence rises. When your mind searches and finds nothing, anxiety grows. The work you do daily, connecting words, using them, revisiting them, directly influences that mental speed. Vocabulary mastery is therefore not a memory game, it is structured mental training. Fluency is often misunderstood as speed, but speed without control leads to confusion. Real fluency is the ability to organize thoughts clearly while speaking at a natural pace. Many learners wait until they feel ready before speaking, yet readiness is created through speaking itself. The transition from silent learner to confident speaker does not happen automatically, it requires deliberate verbal training. Thinking in English is a skill that can be trained gradually. Instead of translating full sentences from your native language, begin with microthoughts. Name objects around you. Describe simple actions. Predict what will happen next in your day. These small internal dialogues reduce translation dependency. Over time, your brain begins forming ideas directly in English because it becomes accustomed to producing without a middle step. Structured speaking practice is more effective than random conversation. Choose a clear topic and limit your time. For example, speak for 2 minutes about the importance of discipline. Record yourself. Do not stop when you hesitate, work through the pause. After finishing, listen carefully. Identify repetition patterns, filler words, unclear pronunciation, and grammatical inconsistency. Awareness transforms weakness into improvement targets. Shadowing is a powerful method for improving rhythm and confidence. Select a short audio clip with clear speech. Listen once for understanding. Then play it again and repeat simultaneously with the speaker, matching speed and intonation. This exercise trains muscle memory in your mouth and reduces the gap between listening and speaking. Over time, your speech becomes smoother because your pronunciation patterns become automatic. Sentence variation elevates spoken English. Many learners rely on basic structures repeatedly. Expanding structure variety adds depth. Instead of always saying, "I think this is important," vary your expression. From my perspective, this plays a significant role. One reason this matters is that it affects long-term results. What stands out to me is the impact it creates. Variation prevents monotony and increases expressive flexibility. Pausing strategically improves clarity. Silence is not weakness, uncontrolled silence is. Short pauses between ideas allow your brain to organize thoughts. Rather than filling space with, or, take a controlled breath and continue. This makes you sound thoughtful instead of uncertain. Pronunciation improvement depends on 3 main elements: clarity of sounds, word stress, and sentence rhythm. Focus on problematic sounds specific to your background. Practice minimal pairs such as ship and sheep, live and leave, full and fool. These small distinctions dramatically influence comprehension. Word stress ensures intelligibility. Sentence rhythm ensures natural flow. When these 3 align, speech becomes easier to understand. Confidence grows through repetition in varied contexts. Speak about the same topic more than once, each time improving structure and vocabulary. The first attempt may feel disorganized. The second becomes clearer. The third becomes controlled. Repetition under variation strengthens neural pathways and reduces performance anxiety. Interactive speaking accelerates growth further. If possible, find a partner or join discussion spaces online. Choose structured discussions rather than casual chat. Debates, question prompts, and problem-solving tasks stimulate complex thinking. When responding spontaneously, your brain learns to retrieve vocabulary under pressure, which is essential for real-life communication. Mistake correction should be selective. Correcting every minor error during conversation interrupts flow. Focus on recurring patterns that affect clarity. For example, if verb tense confusion appears frequently, prioritize that area in practice sessions. Gradual refinement ensures progress without discouragement. Fluency also depends on listening endurance. Long conversations require sustained attention. Train this ability by listening to extended interviews or lectures without stopping. Resist the urge to pause constantly. Even partial comprehension builds stamina. Over time, your tolerance for longer English exposure increases. Expressive range determines how nuanced your communication becomes. Learn phrases for agreement and disagreement. I completely agree, I partially agree, I see your point, but, that may be true, however. These structures allow balanced discussions. Communication is not only about stating opinions but managing interaction smoothly. Public speaking practice, even alone in your room, strengthens projection and articulation. Stand up, speak clearly, and imagine an audience. Physical posture influences vocal energy. When you speak upright with open shoulders, your voice becomes stronger and more stable. Physical presence affects mental state. Gradually increase complexity. Begin with personal topics. Move to abstract topics like technology, education, or social change. Abstract discussion forces you to connect ideas logically, expanding cognitive flexibility in English. Logical connectors such as therefore, consequently, in contrast, and moreover support coherence. Fluency develops when knowledge, rhythm, and confidence converge. It is not a single breakthrough moment but a gradual reduction of hesitation. Each recorded practice, each shadowing session, each structured discussion strengthens automaticity. Over time, speaking stops feeling like construction and starts feeling like expression. Listening is the skill that silently determines how fast everything else improves. When listening is weak, speaking becomes hesitant, vocabulary feels inaccessible, and conversations become stressful. Strong listening, on the other hand, creates anticipation. You begin to predict structures, recognize phrases instantly, and respond with less effort. The key is not to hear more English, but to train your ear with intention. Most learners listen passively. They play a video while scrolling on their phone or while thinking about something else. That type of exposure creates familiarity but not sharp comprehension. Active listening requires focus and a clear objective. Before pressing play, decide what you are listening for. Are you focusing on main ideas, specific vocabulary, pronunciation patterns, or transitions between points? Having a goal transforms listening into a cognitive exercise rather than background noise. Comprehension improves when you stop trying to understand every single word. Real-time conversation moves too quickly for word-by-word translation. Instead, train yourself to capture meaning in chunks. English is built on phrase units. Expressions like, at the end of the day, as a result, in terms of, or, on the other hand, function as single meaning blocks. When you recognize these chunks instantly, processing speed increases dramatically because you are not decoding individual words separately. Speed variation is another useful tool. Start with slower, clear speakers to build accuracy. Once comfortable, gradually introduce natural speed content. Do not avoid fast speech completely. Exposure to speed builds adaptability. If you only listen to slow English, real conversations will feel overwhelming. Controlled difficulty builds resilience. Repetition should be layered. The first listening session is for general understanding. The second is for detail. The third is for analysis. During the analysis stage, pause and observe how sentences are structured. Notice reductions like gonna instead of going to, or wanna instead of want to. Spoken English often compresses sounds, and recognizing these reductions bridges the gap between textbook English and real speech. Transcription practice strengthens listening precision. Choose a short audio clip, 30 to 60 seconds long. Listen carefully and write exactly what you hear. After finishing, compare your version with the original script. The differences reveal weak sound recognition areas. Perhaps connected speech confuses you, or certain consonants blend together. This exercise trains microscopic listening accuracy. Listening to different accents broadens comprehension flexibility. English is not a single sound, it has global variation. Exposure to American, British, Australian, and other accents prevents shock when encountering diversity. Do not attempt to imitate every accent. The purpose is recognition, not replication. Understanding multiple accents increases communicative confidence. Note-taking during listening improves retention. Write key words, not full sentences. Focus on nouns, verbs, and transitions that indicate structure. This skill is especially useful for academic or professional contexts. Listening with a pen activates deeper processing because your brain selects important information rather than passively receiving it. Prediction is a powerful listening strategy. Pause before the speaker finishes a sentence and guess what might come next. Your brain naturally searches for logical continuation. This habit accelerates comprehension because you are no longer reacting, you are anticipating. Anticipation shortens response time in real conversations. Emotional neutrality helps comprehension. When learners panic after missing a word, attention collapses. Missing one word rarely prevents understanding the entire message. Train yourself to stay calm and continue listening. Meaning often becomes clear from context a few seconds later. Mental stability during listening protects overall comprehension. Listening endurance requires gradual expansion. Begin with short clips, then increase duration over time. Aim to handle 10, 15, then 20-minute segments without losing focus. This endurance prepares you for interviews, lectures, and long conversations. Attention stamina is trainable like a muscle. Integrating listening with speaking accelerates results. After listening to a segment, summarize it aloud without reading notes. This forces your brain to reorganize information in your own words. The transformation from input to output strengthens both comprehension and expression simultaneously. Improvement in listening often feels invisible at first. One day you realize you are understanding without translating, without panic, without replaying sentences repeatedly. That moment is not luck, it is accumulated exposure combined with structured effort. Each focused session builds sensitivity to rhythm, tone, and phrasing. Over time, English stops sounding like separate sounds and begins to sound like connected meaning. Reading is often underestimated, yet it is one of the fastest ways to expand vocabulary, improve grammar intuition, and strengthen thinking structure in English. When you read correctly, you absorb sentence patterns subconsciously. Your brain begins to recognize what sounds right even before you can explain the rule behind it. This intuitive sense is what advanced learners develop over time. Reading should not be treated as simple decoding of words. It is an active dialogue between you and the text. Before starting, ask yourself what you expect from the topic. Activating prior knowledge prepares your brain to connect new information with existing ideas. While reading, avoid translating line by line. Instead, aim to understand meaning at the paragraph level. If you stop at every unknown word, comprehension becomes fragmented and exhausting. Material selection influences growth speed. Texts that are too easy will not stretch your ability. Texts that are extremely difficult will reduce motivation. Choose content where you understand most of the vocabulary but still encounter some challenge. Articles, opinion pieces, interviews, and short essays are ideal because they expose you to structured arguments and varied expressions. Pay attention to how paragraphs are built. Notice how writers introduce an idea, support it with examples, and conclude with reflection. This structure improves your own writing because you internalize logical progression. Words such as however, therefore, in addition, on the contrary, and as a result guide readers through arguments. Observing how these connectors function improves coherence in your speaking as well. Highlight useful phrases instead of single isolated words. Expressions like raise awareness, take responsibility, meet expectations, play a significant role, or face consequences, are practical language units. These multi-word expressions are more valuable than rare vocabulary because they appear frequently in discussions and professional contexts. Reading aloud occasionally strengthens pronunciation awareness. When you read silently, you may ignore stress patterns. Reading aloud forces you to process rhythm and punctuation. Commas create short pauses. Periods signal full stops. Question marks shift intonation. This habit connects reading with speaking, preventing separation between skills. Speed control matters. Do not rush through texts only to finish quickly. Balance speed with comprehension. Timed reading exercises can improve pace, but only after understanding is stable. First prioritize clarity, then increase speed gradually. Fluent readers move smoothly because they recognize patterns automatically, not because they skip difficult parts. Critical reading enhances language depth. After finishing a text, summarize its main argument in your own words. Identify the writer's opinion and the supporting evidence. Ask yourself whether you agree or disagree and explain why. This reflection transforms reading from passive intake into analytical thinking, which strengthens expressive ability. Rereading has value when done strategically. The first reading gives general understanding. The second reading allows you to notice structure, vocabulary usage, and subtle meaning shifts. With repeated exposure, complex sentences become familiar, and your processing speed improves naturally. Digital reading tools can assist but should not replace mental effort. Online dictionaries are helpful, yet overusing them reduces inference ability. Attempt to guess meaning from context before confirming. This strengthens independent comprehension skills. Genre diversity broadens language exposure. Fiction develops descriptive vocabulary and emotional nuance. Non-fiction builds analytical language and argument structure. Biographies introduce narrative sequencing. Opinion articles sharpen persuasive language. Rotating genres prevents stagnation and enriches stylistic flexibility. Daily reading, even 15 minutes, compounds significantly over months. Language growth from reading is gradual but powerful. One day you will notice that your sentences resemble the clarity and structure of the texts you have consumed. That transformation is the result of consistent exposure combined with thoughtful engagement. Reading does not simply teach you new words, it teaches you how ideas are constructed in English. The more you observe that construction, the more naturally you replicate it in your own communication. Writing is where passive knowledge becomes visible skill. When you write, you can no longer hide behind recognition. You must choose words, control grammar, organize ideas, and express meaning clearly. This pressure is productive. It reveals gaps that listening and reading might hide. Instead of avoiding writing because it feels difficult, use it as a diagnostic tool that accelerates progress. Clarity should always come before complexity. Many learners try to impress with advanced vocabulary while their sentence structure remains unstable. Strong writing begins with controlled sentences. Subject, verb, object. Then expansion through reason, example, or contrast. A clear simple sentence is stronger than a confusing complex one. Precision builds credibility. Paragraph structure determines readability. Every paragraph should revolve around one central idea. Begin with a clear statement. Support it with explanation or example. Conclude with a sentence that reinforces or transitions. This internal organization prevents scattered thoughts. When readers can follow your logic easily, your writing feels fluent even if vocabulary is simple. Daily short writing is more powerful than rare long essays. Write one focused paragraph each day. Topics can be personal, analytical, or reflective. Describe a challenge you faced. Explain why discipline matters. Analyze a habit you want to improve. Consistency trains fluency in written expression just as daily speaking trains oral fluency. Revision is where improvement truly happens. The first draft captures ideas. The second draft improves structure. During revision, check verb tense consistency, subject-verb agreement, article usage, and prepositions. Replace vague words with more precise alternatives. Shorten unnecessarily long sentences. Clarity often improves when sentences become slightly shorter. Sentence variety enhances sophistication. Combine simple sentences with compound and complex ones. Use relative clauses to add detail. Students who practice consistently improve faster. Use conditionals to express possibility. If you practice daily, your confidence will increase. Controlled variation prevents monotony and shows grammatical flexibility. Linking words are essential for coherence. Words such as moreover, however, consequently, in contrast, and for instance guide the reader through your logic. Without them, ideas feel disconnected. Use them naturally, not excessively. Their purpose is to clarify relationships between ideas. Feedback accelerates writing development. If possible, share your writing with someone who can identify recurring mistakes. If external feedback is unavailable, compare your writing with well-written texts. Notice differences in tone, vocabulary density, and sentence rhythm. Self-analysis builds independence. Error awareness should be focused, not overwhelming. Identify 2 or 3 recurring mistakes and prioritize correcting them. Trying to fix everything simultaneously reduces motivation. Targeted improvement produces visible progress, which increases confidence. Writing summaries of listening or reading material strengthens integration between skills. After watching a short talk, write a concise summary without copying phrases directly. This forces you to restructure information in your own words. That transformation builds deeper understanding and lexical flexibility. Tone awareness improves maturity in writing. Formal writing avoids contractions and slang. Informal writing allows conversational phrases. Understanding the difference helps you adapt language depending on context. Adaptability is a sign of advanced competence. Over time, writing becomes less about grammar checking and more about idea refinement. You begin thinking about clarity, emphasis, and persuasion rather than basic correctness. That shift indicates structural stability in your language foundation. Strong writing reflects organized thinking. As your writing improves, your speaking often becomes clearer as well because both rely on structured thought. When ideas are arranged logically on paper, they are easier to express verbally. Writing therefore strengthens not only your grammar but your cognitive discipline in English. Grammar becomes powerful only when it moves from theory to instinct. Many learners study rules for years yet hesitate when speaking because grammar exists in their notes, not in their reflexes. The goal is not to memorize every rule but to internalize the patterns that appear most frequently in real communication. Tense control is central to clarity. Confusion between past, present, and future disrupts meaning more than small vocabulary gaps. Train tense awareness by linking each tense to a mental timeline. Present simple expresses facts and routines. Past simple reports completed actions. Present perfect connects past actions to the present moment. Instead of memorizing definitions, associate each tense with typical situations from your own life. I work every morning. I finished the project yesterday. I have improved my speaking skills this year. Personal relevance accelerates retention. Consistency within a sentence and paragraph is equally important. When describing a past experience, maintain the past tense unless a shift is logically required. Many errors occur not because learners do not know the rule, but because attention shifts during expression. Conscious monitoring during writing practice reduces these inconsistencies over time. Articles create subtle but significant differences in meaning. The distinction between a, an, and the reflects whether something is general or specific. I saw a movie introduces something new. The movie was inspiring refers to a specific one already mentioned. Training article awareness requires observation. While reading, notice how articles frame information. Gradual exposure builds intuition. Prepositions demand pattern familiarity rather than strict logic. English prepositions rarely translate directly from other languages. Expressions like interested in, responsible for, afraid of, or depend on must be learned as combinations. Treat them as single units. When learning a new adjective or verb, immediately connect it with its typical preposition. Sentence complexity increases through clause usage. Relative clauses add detail without creating separate sentences. Students who practice daily improve steadily. Conditional clauses express possibility and consequence. If you remain consistent, results will follow. These structures allow more nuanced communication without requiring advanced vocabulary. Grammar improves through transformation exercises. Take a simple sentence and modify it. Change tense. Convert it to a question. Add a condition. Expand it with a relative clause. This manipulation trains flexibility. For example, she improves quickly becomes, she improved quickly last year. Then, if she practices daily, she will improve quickly. This mental adjustment builds control. Error correction should be analytical rather than emotional. Instead of feeling discouraged by mistakes, categorize them. Are they tense errors? Word order problems? Missing articles? Pattern recognition in your own mistakes accelerates correction. Repeated exposure to corrected forms strengthens automatic accuracy. Spoken grammar differs slightly from written grammar. In conversation, contractions and simplified structures are common. I'm going to, they've finished, we'll see. Becoming comfortable with these spoken forms improves listening comprehension and natural expression. Formal writing, however, may require fuller forms. Awareness of context determines appropriateness. Grammar acquisition deepens when combined with input. Reading and listening repeatedly expose you to correct structures in action. Your brain begins to predict forms before consciously analyzing them. This intuitive prediction signals internalization. Structured study provides clarity, exposure provides reinforcement. Complex grammar should be layered gradually. Master core structures before attempting advanced forms like inverted conditionals or sophisticated passive constructions. Stability at the base prevents collapse at higher levels. Strong fundamentals support expressive expansion. Over time, grammar transitions from conscious calculation to subconscious guidance. You stop translating rules in your head. Instead, sentences feel correct. That feeling is not accidental, it results from repeated exposure, controlled practice, and deliberate correction. Grammar then becomes invisible support rather than visible struggle, allowing your ideas to take center stage. Confidence in English is not a personality trait, it is a trained response to familiarity. Many learners believe they lack confidence, but what they actually lack is repeated exposure under manageable pressure. Confidence grows when your brain recognizes patterns quickly and retrieves language without excessive searching. Reducing hesitation is therefore more important than sounding impressive. Hesitation often comes from over-editing while speaking. When you try to construct a perfect sentence before opening your mouth, fluency collapses. Train yourself to separate production from correction. During speaking practice, focus on delivering the message. During review, focus on refining accuracy. This separation prevents mental overload and keeps communication flowing. Mental rehearsal accelerates spontaneous speech. Before entering a conversation or recording yourself, take 1 minute to outline key ideas in simple bullet points. Not full sentences, just structure. Introduction, main idea, supporting example, conclusion. This preparation organizes thought flow without memorizing exact wording. Structured thinking reduces anxiety. Visualization also plays a role. Imagine yourself explaining an idea clearly and calmly. Athletes use visualization to improve performance. Language learners can apply the same technique. When your brain rehearses success, it reduces fear responses during real communication. Expanding expressive range increases security. Many learners repeat the same expressions because they feel safe. Gradually introduce alternative phrases for common functions. Instead of always saying, I think, use, in my view, from my perspective, or, it seems to me. Instead of, it's important, say, it plays a crucial role, or, it has significant impact. Having options reduces panic when one phrase temporarily disappears from memory. Anxiety decreases when expectations become realistic. You are not required to sound like a native speaker to communicate effectively. Clear pronunciation, logical structure, and appropriate vocabulary are enough. Focusing on communication rather than perfection shifts attention away from fear. Deliberate exposure to mild discomfort strengthens resilience. Join discussions slightly above your comfort level. Record longer responses than usual. Attempt topics that require explanation rather than simple description. Controlled challenge expands your competence zone gradually. Body language influences vocal delivery. Standing upright while speaking increases breath control and projection. Smiling lightly relaxes facial muscles, improving articulation. Physical alignment affects mental state. Calm posture often leads to calmer speech. Positive reinforcement accelerates improvement. After each speaking session, identify one aspect that improved. Perhaps pauses were shorter, vocabulary was more varied, or pronunciation felt clearer. Recognizing progress builds motivation, which sustains consistency. Comparing yourself constantly to advanced speakers weakens confidence. Measure growth against your previous performance instead. Listen to recordings from 1 or 2 months ago. Notice reduced hesitation and improved structure. Progress becomes visible through comparison with your past self, not with others. Breathing control stabilizes speech rhythm. Before speaking, inhale slowly and begin your sentence during steady exhalation. Controlled breathing reduces vocal tension and prevents rushing. A steady pace sounds more confident than rapid, uneven delivery. Mistakes during conversation should be treated as information, not failure. If someone corrects you, acknowledge it, repeat the correct form, and continue. This quick adjustment strengthens memory without interrupting interaction flow. Over time, confidence becomes natural because familiarity replaces uncertainty. The more structured exposure you accumulate, the less your brain perceives English as a threat. Instead, it becomes a familiar tool for expressing ideas. Confidence then stops being an effort and becomes a byproduct of preparation, repetition, and measured challenge. Listening and speaking are intertwined, yet most learners train them separately. Integrating both accelerates fluency because comprehension and production share cognitive pathways. When you hear a sentence, your brain not only decodes meaning but also predicts how you would respond. This predictive process strengthens automatic recall and reduces hesitation. Shadowing is one of the most effective integration techniques. Choose a short audio clip with clear pronunciation. Listen carefully, then repeat aloud simultaneously, imitating rhythm, intonation, and stress. This exercise aligns hearing with speaking, training muscles and neural pathways to process language as a single unit rather than separate skills. Over time, speech becomes smoother and more confident because the brain anticipates sound patterns. Role-playing enhances contextual fluency. Create realistic scenarios like ordering in a cafe, explaining a problem at work, or giving directions. Speak as if the situation is real, not rehearsed. By practicing practical dialogues, you prepare your mind for spontaneous interaction. Repetition of different scenarios increases adaptability and reduces panic when unexpected phrases arise. Question-response drills strengthen retrieval speed. Take a list of questions, either self-made or from language resources. Respond aloud without looking at notes. Initially, pause briefly to think. Gradually reduce the pause until answers flow naturally. Speed of retrieval is as important as accuracy because real-life conversations allow little time for translation. Combining listening with summary speaking creates deeper comprehension. After listening to a short clip, summarize it in your own words aloud. Avoid copying phrases directly. This process forces mental restructuring, turning passive recognition into active production. Each summary session increases lexical flexibility, reinforces grammar patterns, and improves pronunciation. Pronunciation correction is most effective in context. Isolated drills help initially, but practicing sounds in full sentences solidifies learning. Pay attention to weak forms, stress patterns, and connected speech. For example, I'm going to often becomes I'm gonna in natural speech. Recognizing and reproducing these forms ensures you are understood in real conversations. Interactive feedback accelerates integration. If you can practice with a partner or language community, focus on noticing recurring mistakes. Ask for specific feedback on pronunciation, sentence structure, or word choice. Immediate correction strengthens memory and prevents fossilization of errors. If no partner is available, record yourself and analyze critically, comparing with native models. Storytelling links comprehension with expression. Take a personal experience and narrate it aloud in English. Include details, emotions, and sequence. Narration forces you to organize ideas logically while retrieving vocabulary and structures. Repeating stories with variation enhances fluency because your mind practices flexibility and coherence simultaneously. Listening to diverse speakers improves adaptability. Accents, speech rates, and styles vary across contexts. Exposure to multiple sources, such as interviews, podcasts, and vlogs, prevents over-reliance on a single pronunciation or speaking rhythm. Adaptability ensures smoother interaction in unfamiliar situations. Controlled repetition embeds patterns into long-term memory. Repeat phrases, sentences, and short dialogues multiple times over days. This spaced repetition solidifies both comprehension and production. Each repetition strengthens automatic recall, reducing cognitive load during real conversations. Pausing strategically is part of natural speaking rhythm. Do not rush through sentences. Short pauses allow your brain to plan the next phrase while giving listeners time to process information. Fluent speech is not continuous speed, it is balanced, rhythmic, and understandable. Confidence emerges naturally from repeated integration. When listening and speaking are trained together, comprehension becomes automatic, vocabulary becomes accessible, and sentence formation flows with less effort. The brain perceives English as a usable tool, not a puzzle, and fluency grows organically from these connected experiences. Reading and writing together create a powerful cycle that reinforces both skills. When you read actively, you notice sentence structures, vocabulary, and stylistic patterns. When you write, you apply these observations, transforming passive input into expressive output. This cycle strengthens memory, deepens understanding, and trains your mind to think in English naturally. Analyzing sentence patterns during reading is crucial. Observe how ideas are introduced, developed, and concluded. Notice connectors such as therefore, however, in addition, or consequently. These words indicate logical relationships. By identifying patterns repeatedly, your brain internalizes the structure of coherent English writing, allowing you to replicate it effortlessly in your own work. Summarization bridges comprehension and production. After reading a paragraph or article, condense its main points in your own words. This prevents copying and ensures you have understood the message. Summaries improve critical thinking while reinforcing vocabulary and grammar. Over time, summarization becomes automatic, allowing faster mental processing and more accurate expression. Writing from prompts enhances flexibility. Select short prompts such as, describe your favorite place, explain a recent challenge, or, compare two ideas. Limit time to 10 or 15 minutes. This encourages spontaneous language production while reinforcing vocabulary, grammar, and sentence variety. Time restriction simulates real-life speaking pressures, making output faster and more natural. Vocabulary integration is more effective when writing applies new words contextually. Simply memorizing definitions does not guarantee retrieval. After learning new expressions, write sentences or short paragraphs using them. The act of producing language in context creates stronger neural connections, ensuring words become part of your active vocabulary rather than remaining passive. Feedback remains critical. After writing, review for grammar, clarity, and naturalness. Identify recurring mistakes and note improvements over time. Comparing early writing samples with recent ones highlights progress, boosts motivation, and directs focus on persistent weak areas. Self-monitoring encourages independence and long-term skill retention. Sentence variety develops through intentional expansion. Start with simple sentences, then combine them into compound or complex structures. Include relative clauses, conditional clauses, and linking phrases. For example, I visited the park yesterday. The weather was perfect. I felt relaxed becomes, I visited the park yesterday, where the perfect weather made me feel completely relaxed. Layering sentences improves stylistic range and prepares your writing for more advanced communication. Reading different genres exposes you to diverse vocabulary and expression. Fiction enhances descriptive language and emotional nuance. Nonfiction builds analytical and argumentative skills. News articles, interviews, and essays reveal formal and semi-formal structures. Rotating genres prevents stagnation and strengthens overall linguistic adaptability. Writing aloud occasionally links internal processing with pronunciation. Speaking written sentences reinforces rhythm, intonation, and stress patterns. This technique benefits both oral and written skills, creating alignment between comprehension, articulation, and mental organization of ideas. Spaced repetition strengthens retention of both grammar and vocabulary. After reading and writing a text, revisit it days later. Summarize it again or expand the ideas. Repeated interaction with content solidifies memory and improves expressive confidence, ensuring that learning is not temporary. Critical reflection enhances mastery. Ask yourself, what worked well in my writing? Where could vocabulary be stronger? How does sentence structure affect clarity? Reflection transforms practice into strategic improvement rather than mechanical repetition. The ability to self-assess accelerates growth and deepens skill integration. Over time, reading and writing reinforce each other naturally. Your brain recognizes patterns, retrieves words effortlessly, and constructs coherent ideas with minimal conscious effort. The combination of input and output creates a stable foundation for advanced fluency, preparing you for professional communication, academic tasks, and confident expression in any context. Immersion accelerates language acquisition far more than isolated study. Surrounding yourself with English in multiple forms, audio, video, text, and interaction, trains your brain to process the language as a complete system. Immersion does not require living in an English-speaking country, it requires creating an environment where English is consistently present and relevant. Daily routines can incorporate English naturally. Change your phone and app settings to English. Label objects in your environment with English words. Listen to music, podcasts, or audiobooks during commutes or chores. Watch interviews, vlogs, or short documentaries in English. The goal is constant exposure, not perfection. Even partial understanding builds familiarity and reduces mental friction over time. Interactive engagement strengthens learning more than passive consumption. Comment on English videos, participate in discussion forums, or join language learning groups online. Writing short responses or questions forces active recall. Interaction encourages real-time thought processing, which translates to faster speaking fluency. Shadowing and repetition remain key within immersion. Listen to natural speech multiple times. Repeat phrases aloud, imitating rhythm and intonation. Gradually, your brain begins predicting structure, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Shadowing turns passive listening into embodied practice, merging comprehension with expression. Content selection matters. Avoid overwhelming yourself with extremely difficult material. Choose content slightly above your current level, familiar vocabulary with some new expressions. Gradual challenge keeps engagement high while ensuring comprehension. Too easy causes stagnation, too hard causes frustration. Integration across skills magnifies results. While reading, highlight useful phrases. Later, practice them in writing or speaking. When listening, note repeated structures or connectors and imitate them in speech. Cross-skill integration accelerates memory retention and reinforces natural usage patterns. Cultural context enhances understanding. Many expressions and idioms are culture-dependent. Exposure to movies, series, and interviews provides context for colloquial expressions. Understanding context prevents misinterpretation and improves natural expression in conversation. Error correction should remain measured. Focus on patterns that interfere with clarity. Overcorrecting minor issues interrupts flow. Controlled feedback strengthens performance without creating anxiety. Identify 2 or 3 recurring issues, and consciously monitor them during immersion activities. Consistency is the invisible multiplier in immersion. Even 20 minutes daily creates substantial cumulative exposure. Small, regular interaction with English strengthens neural connections, reduces hesitation, and builds confidence. Irregular, intensive bursts are less effective than steady integration. Mental framing impacts immersion efficiency. Treat English as a tool for curiosity and exploration rather than a test. Engage with topics that interest you: technology, art, sports, or science. Motivation amplifies attention, making learning both effective and enjoyable. Internal dialogue accelerates acquisition. Think in English while performing daily tasks. Describe what you are doing: I'm preparing coffee. I need to check my schedule. I will review my notes afterward. Internal monologue strengthens mental retrieval, sentence structure fluency, and vocabulary recall, bridging passive and active skills. Over time, immersion creates automaticity. Your brain stops seeing English as foreign or effortful. Patterns, expressions, and pronunciation become familiar, allowing thought to flow naturally. Fluency emerges not from memorization alone but from constant, integrated exposure that trains comprehension, expression, and cognitive flexibility simultaneously. Motivation is often misunderstood as a fleeting emotion rather than a system you can design. Relying solely on sudden bursts of inspiration leads to inconsistent learning. Real progress comes from structured habits, small measurable goals, and the satisfaction of incremental improvement. Motivation becomes sustainable when it is embedded into daily routine rather than dependent on mood. Setting clear, realistic objectives guides effort. Instead of saying, "I want to be fluent someday," break it into actionable steps. I will learn 5 new expressions daily, I will write 1 paragraph per day, I will listen to 1 short podcast every morning. Concrete goals create measurable progress, which reinforces engagement and confidence. Tracking progress amplifies motivation. Record yourself speaking weekly. Compare your recordings over time. Keep a journal of new vocabulary and sentences you successfully use. Seeing tangible improvement strengthens commitment and encourages continuation even when the process feels challenging. Celebrating small wins maintains momentum. Successfully using a new expression in conversation, completing a listening exercise without pausing, or writing a coherent paragraph are all victories. Recognition of these achievements, however small, provides positive reinforcement and strengthens long-term consistency. Creating a learning environment that inspires engagement is crucial. Surround yourself with resources that excite you: interesting podcasts, compelling articles, or videos on topics you enjoy. When curiosity drives learning, effort feels less like work and more like exploration. The pleasure of discovery keeps motivation high over time. Accountability strengthens habit formation. Share your goals with a friend, mentor, or online community. Regular updates or feedback create external pressure that supports internal commitment. Social accountability often prevents procrastination and encourages regular practice. Adapting methods prevents burnout. If one approach feels stale, switch strategies. Listen to a story instead of reading, write a short essay instead of shadowing, or practice speaking through role play. Variety maintains interest, reinforces different skills, and prevents stagnation. Flexibility ensures sustainable progress. Mindset shapes persistence. Accept that mistakes are inevitable and productive. Treat errors as data points rather than failures. Each correction teaches the brain a better pathway. A growth-oriented mindset transforms challenges into opportunities for rapid improvement. Reflection consolidates learning. At the end of each week, review what was learned, new vocabulary, grammar structures, phrases, or pronunciation improvements. Reflect on difficulties and plan solutions for the coming week. Reflection ensures that learning is cumulative, not fragmented. Integration of all skills, listening, speaking, reading, writing, grammar, vocabulary, creates synergy. Each skill reinforces the others. Listening informs pronunciation. Reading strengthens grammar intuition. Writing consolidates vocabulary. Speaking activates all these elements together. Balanced practice produces fluency faster than focusing on a single skill in isolation. Consistency is the ultimate multiplier. Short, daily sessions compound more effectively than occasional intense study. Even 15 to 30 minutes every day produces noticeable improvement within weeks. Long-term commitment creates automaticity in thought, speech, and comprehension. By designing motivation, structuring habits, and integrating skills, English learning becomes sustainable, enjoyable, and effective. Over time, what once felt difficult transforms into effortless expression. Your mind begins thinking, speaking, and understanding in English naturally, creating fluency that is not just learned but internalized.